gentlemen, welcome to the First Class Second Place podcast. I'm your host, Jason Enrique, and with me today, my very special guest is Demi Kiara. How you doing, Demi?
I'm good. How are you? I'm happy to be here.
I really appreciate you coming all the way over here. I appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let me start off the interview with the question that I ask everybody that comes on my show. Tell me the beginning of your New York story, meaning that where were you born and raised and what was your upbringing like?
Okay, so I was born and raised in the Bronx.
BX.
Yeah, BX. That's my hometown. How was it in the Bronx? The Bronx, I love it, but, I love it for it being home, sort of.
It wasn't exactly the safest place to live.
But it's not, exactly. It's not the safest place. My block was never, everybody knew each other, and especially me, my family grew up there. I'm the baby, so everyone knew me and my family. So that was cool. You know, I had people looking out for me. But yeah, no, it wasn't the safest. There was drugs, there's violence, there's all types of things you can imagine there.
Do you still have family in there, in those parts?
I do.
And do you still go every often to visit?
Occasionally. I don't really go that often to it, but I guess
maybe like family functions and stuff?
Sometimes. Sometimes. I'm not really in the Bronx like that too often anymore, but
So now you're a Jersey transplant though?
Yeah, I'm in Jersey now. I was half of my life in Bronx, half in Jersey City Heights. And the Heights was better than the Bronx, you know? But you still got a little bit of everything. You still got your areas, everywhere.
Yeah, see, that's the interesting thing about Jersey is that I mentioned before that there are moments where there's areas where you feel like you're going one place and it's like nice suburban area with white picket fences, so on and so forth. You turn your head around and you're in the projects. Yeah,
it's so fast. Yeah. You even certain parts in Jersey City, you can cross the street, you're in Union City, and then cross the street, you're in Weehawken, and it's wait. This is too fast. Every part is a different location.
Yeah, and not to mention the beaches, the shore, and even farmland. So it's it's we really are a diverse state. Yeah,
for sure.
And I also understand that growing up, you grew up in a very musically inclined family. You started at a very, very early age. Yeah. But before we get into you, tell me a little bit about more your family. How is it that they were musically inclined that allowed you to follow that same path afterwards?
So my mom, she sings.
Okay.
She doesn't like to sing in front of people, although one time I did get her to sing with me at a talent show with your parent.
Okay.
That was cool. So my mom sings, her sisters all sing, my grandma sings, so they get it from her. My aunt's kids sing and or rap. There's also some creative drawing in the family as well. Everybody can, not everybody, but a few of us can sketch really good and draw. We're all creative in that aspect. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. We get it from our grandma and then her daughters. They pass it on to our cousins. So on my mom's side, it's heavy into the music.
Now, as far as the music aspect, was it just singing or was it also about performing outlet? Were you all about dancing and putting on a show and so on and so forth? Basically, your talents beyond just your voice.
I was for sure. And some of my cousins, they did chorus, but I feel like I was the only one that really ventured into acting out of my family, doing plays and things like that.
What made you want to get into acting in the first place? Were you somebody that liked to watch TV a lot or watched a lot of movies, and then there was something that kind of struck to you that made you think, wow, I want to do that?
Honestly, I think it was just that I always had energy and was very creative and loved putting on shows and just having attention and making people laugh.
Yeah.
I liked that. Hey, look at me. This is what I'm doing, and watch it.
You were all about showmanship, since the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you say that you got that more from your mom or your dad?
Definitely my mom. Definitely my mom because of the creative aspect. It's not my father, he doesn't really, he enjoys music, but he doesn't do anything really with music. He's more the tough guy, he did karate, he was in the military, he was a police officer.
Yeah, and I understand that at one point you wanted to be in the military because you wanted to follow in the footsteps of your father and also your brother to some extent.
I did. I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be the first female Barretto, first female Marine in the family. That clearly wasn't in my cards.
Basically, a little G.I. Jane sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at one point when I was younger, I thought I would be an assassin, like a spy. That was like a dream. I'm serious. Like I would have a little. I would paint my face, right? Sometimes,
yeah, like a Green Beret or something like that.
Type vibes. I would if I was like being a spy, I would wear all black. So I'd have a Scully and just black clothing.
Isn't it ironic that Demi Moore played G.I. Jane and your name just happens to be Demi?
Yeah. You know what? That's true.
Yeah, and me being the movie buff that I am, like I always make the connections. Always there.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. It took me to bring it out, right?
Yeah.
But that's actually pretty cool how your family has always really instilled the showmanship and the music thing into you and so on and so forth. And I think that you wanted to be in like, you know, stage and acting and performing and so on and so forth. I think that actually enhanced your talent because I notice a lot of people that when they start wanting to do some kind of music, whether it's just play an instrument or do vocals, they only relegate to just that one thing. And then afterwards they stay stagnant, they stay stuck. And it really keeps them like in a creative rut, for lack of a better term. And it goes to show that it's just more than that. I mean, to me, if you're going to be into music, if you're going to be into acting, if you're going to be into filmmaking, whatever the case may be of arts, I feel like you have to be open-minded on all aspects because in some way, shape, or form, they're all interconnected in one way or the other. I mean, you even see it all the time that, you know, you got athletes that are trying to be comedians and comedians that are trying to be serious actors or they think they could put out an album.
They coincide. They go into each other. And honestly, I feel like the acting part of me helps with the artist side of me because when you're writing music and when you're composing music, you're writing things. It's not always about you. You know what I mean? Like you can take your own experiences and bring it out into the light. Mm-hmm. And that's like you reaching out to. Oh, sorry, I lost my voice. Okay, and it's coming back.
You're doing fine.
I'm sorry, when you're composing, when you're writing, you have that element of yourself that you're putting out there, right? And then when you're acting, you're an entirely different person, character. You're embodying something else, but you're taking components of yourself and making it livelier, you know? So it's like I can flip sides. I can make something about me. I could not. I could pull myself out of it. I can be in it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, coming from a musically inclined family, and they see the talent that you had, that it's very raw, but they see that it's there and it has potential. Did that mean that growing up at an early age, where you kind of put like the ringer, for lack of a better term, like you actually going, it almost kind of felt like it was like musical boot camp. Like, did they make you really do all these things that were kind of like always doing practice, never stop, and then afterwards it would kind of be like, if you don't do this, you don't finish your meal or whatever, you have to go to your room. Like they would really push you to your limits to the point where you feel like maybe you don't want to do this.
No, I wouldn't say that. Everyone was always supportive. It wasn't like a job, almost like, oh, you love it so much, this is what you're gonna do, and sit down and structure like that. It was more like, this because like I love to do it and I'm putting myself into these like after school programs, like in school that was offered, you know, like, oh, I want to sign up for that, so I'm gonna sign up for it. It was never like shoved down my throat or like forced.
So that's good though, because if you didn't have the passion, then who knows where it would have like taken you. Like you probably would have given up that easy. Because I mentioned to this before on my show that when I was younger, I thought I had a dream of wanting to be a director, like direct movies or direct commercials or whatever. And I felt like I really didn't have the support of my family, and they never really helped me to do anything to achieve that dream or show the real support that I felt that I needed. And that led me to discouragement. And then all of a sudden I just figured that, you know what, I let it consume me, and I didn't do it. I never proceeded. I never, went through with it. But at the same time, instead of pointing the finger at them and, blaming it on them, I just had to realize that, you know what, maybe the passion really wasn't there as much as I thought it was, because if not, I would have had that mentality like, you know what, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to prove y'all wrong.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You have to have that passion and drive in something that you love, if that's something that you really want to do, because that's when you're going to enjoy it. And I've been blessed and lucky that I've had family that supported me in all my decisions with my craft, you know. My cousins that I have done music. My first song ever I recorded when I was 10, and I swore I was a rapper. Swore I was a rapper, and I recorded at my cousin's studio, and his home studio, and that's support right there, because what, you know, I'm interested in it, and you're having me record. Come here, let's do something.
What was the name of that song? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. It was called Me and My Homies.
Okay.
I remember it too, honestly. Oh my gosh. And I wrote it about, like, me and my cousins are my homies, like my older cousins. So Lex.
Yes, yeah. Shout out your boy Lex.
Shout out your boy Lex. Mm-hmm. Lex and his two older brothers, Elias and Xavier.
Okay.
So I shouted them out in my song too. And I definitely rhymed. Like, I don't know how I'm going to say it, but like, macaroni, bologna, and homie are all things I put in this.
That sounds like something a 10-year-old would rap about, you know?
Oh my gosh. And phony too. I think I said something about some people being phony.
Yeah. You sure you don't have that in the archives anywhere? Or maybe your cousins do? Maybe, because throughout the years, you know, equipment and like things being... you know what? I think my mom has it on an iPod actually. Because like it was sent... It's somewhere in the cloud. Yeah, I also have to keep in mind that I'm a little bit much older than you. So, like, you mentioning this technology that was at your disposal when you were very young is like, wow, I was already working my first job when you had all this technology. Yeah, I'm a youngin'. Old soul, but I'm a youngin'. Yeah, that's what all Gen Z says. No, but with me, it's true. Right. Are you Gen Z or are you considered millennial? What is it? I'm considered Gen Z, but I don't agree. But... it is what it is, because I'm a Gen Z. Right. And that's not throwing shade or anything. I just wanted to genuinely know. Because I personally don't know the cutoff date or the year or whatever. I know that I'm considered a millennial, but I don't know when it started and began. I'm not sure when it began, but I know that I think it ends at 1996. Okay. I think that's the cutoff year. Yeah, so I was 10 years old in 1996. So. Yeah, so you're a millennial. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, so with you growing up at the age of 3 and, you know, and being like, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, I feel like at this point I graduated high school and stuff. Like, what were some of the music that really gravitated towards you that you felt like actually inspired you, for lack of a better term, to hone your craft? So my mom used to play a lot of Whitney in the house, Whitney Houston, Christina Aguilera, right, Pink. Oh my God, Pink is still fire. Still fire. Yeah. Absolutely. And I enjoyed Pink's like effortlessly just being who, like walking to the drum, to the beat of her own drum. Like that is her, that is everything. So I would definitely say she also inspired me. And then early Rihanna too, like around that time she was like coming out and killing things. And it's funny you mention Rihanna, because when I listen to your music, that's more or less of the vibe that I've been getting from the music. Like I feel like I'm listening to a Puerto Rican version of Rihanna. Oh yeah. When I listen to your music, yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. As a matter of fact, one I told you earlier that I was listening to a lot of your catalog, and there's this one particular one that really kind of like, you know, stuck out more than the other ones. I think it was called Shorty Mad. Shorty Mad. Yeah. So, and the reason that I want to ask you about that particular song is because when it comes to artistry, no matter what we do, there's always have to be some kind of inspiration behind each project and each thing that we want to do. I mean, you could do a song, I forget, the name kind of escapes me right now, but you're talking about how you're finally moving on from a relationship that you tried to make it work and just realized that you was just like beating a dead horse. And then Let Me Down. There you go, that's the one. And then you have Shorty Mad, who it seems like some bitch got it twisted one day and then set you off, and it got you mad enough to the point where you had to like really, you know, put it down on paper and, you know, put it on wax. Now, was that something more or less that kind of drove you to making that kind of song, or was it more like a broad message to all the haters out there? A little bit of both. So I actually remember when I got the idea for Shorty Mad, I was in high school. So it was my senior year, which was 2019. Okay. And
I forgot exactly what had happened, but I do know that there was some chick that she just irritated me. She was just annoyed. She annoyed me. She did something that was just like, oh, you're just mad. Oh, Shorty's just mad. And I said that, and I wrote, and I was like, oh, Shorty mad. I should do a song about that because people got me like fucked up, you know? Can I curse on here?
Yeah, listen.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah, just watch this. Fuck you motherfuckers. Go ahead.
So that was the idea. Like, somebody did annoy me, and so I wrote, "Oh, Shorty mad."
And she really must have got under your ass if it provoked you enough to make a song about it.
But then that's the thing. So a little bit of both, because then it turned into anybody that has hate, anybody that's pissed me off, like, oh, why are they mad? Or personal experiences that I've had. Right. Oh, because of this.
Like a dedication to those motherfuckers.
Yeah, so then it became that, like, as opposed to one like specific person, because I feel like if it was one specific person, I'd probably remember exactly what happened. Right. And I don't at this point. But yeah, no, I've definitely had throughout the years, you know, some like haters, for lack of a better word. Just because I've always kind of been me, effortlessly just me, and been comfortable in my own skin and how I think and how I am, and I don't think that everybody can digest that sometimes. Yeah. So like there's sometimes been little like spats and things like that. So that was dedication to everybody that's mad. Here you go.
Shorty mad.
Shorty mad.
Yeah. Now, so everybody knows that when it comes to any kind of endeavor that you want to go, whether it was me doing a podcast or, you know, my brother trying to get a job in the hotel industry, or, you know, I know a friend of mine that wants to get into filmmaking and so on and so forth. Everybody has a passion in some way, shape, or form, no matter how small or big. And nothing's going to stop you from achieving that goal if you really love it and is passionate about that much. But everybody also knows that nothing that ever comes successful or great doesn't come easy. So with that being said, I'm pretty sure that even though in your young age you've experienced some trials and tribulations in you know, going on in your career, and who knows, maybe there's some things that you're possibly going through right now. And can you explain to me a couple of things or a couple of examples that you could share with me and my audience of some of the trials and tribulations that you had to go through throughout the course of your career?
So here's a big one. Being a woman in the industry is hard. Hard within itself, because there's been times where producers or engineers before Mecca, like, was a thing, would hit me up and like, oh, I want to work with you, you're so talented, this, that, and the third, and then okay, let's talk, or we start to talk business, and then they just want to flirt, or they just want like change the tune, and it's like, that's not what this is. So separating. I
call that casting couch talk. Basically, it's almost like, oh, if you sit down on this couch and you talk with me, if you fuck me, I'll definitely have a part for you in this role, or something like that.
Right, and you got the wrong one for that. That's not me. That's not my body. So.
Or what they try to do, and you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they'll try to go the long route, and they'll try to like work in some kind of way how it to fit in your image, where they try to sexualize your image a lot more so that it could gain more views and gain more tractions with the audience. But in reality, behind their minds, they're actually trying to portray you how they see you for their own benefit. You know, for their own benefits, or, you know, kind of like, you know, that you're playing this kind of sick game, for lack of a better term.
Well, for that definitely does happen, and I've seen it happen. For me, I haven't thankfully had that one too often.
It hasn't happened to you, but you are well enough to know that it has actually happened. Like, you've seen it with your own eyes, or you heard it through the grapevine, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. So I know I stand firm on my beliefs and who I am. So I know, like, that's not changing for anybody, and whatever you think you can get me to or help me with, it's like, all right, I don't want it that bad to conform myself into something else, you know?
Right.
So that's pretty hard. Another challenge, I guess, would be I think I get in my own way sometimes, but I feel like
you're your biggest
does.
critic.
Yes. Yeah. I'm my biggest critic, my worst critic.
Would you call yourself a little bit of a perfectionist?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
You ever have those moments where you're trying to do a song, you're working on a song, whether it's writing it, you're actually in the process of recording it, and you're flustered and frustrated because it's not coming out the way that you exactly want it to?
Yeah. Not all the time, but like, it does happen where I'm trying to hit this note, or I know what I want to come out, and it just doesn't come out the way I want it to, or I don't know. I do get frustrated sometimes.
And are you one of those people where you feel like, you know what, it's just not happening, let me just call it a night and I'll get back to it today? Or do you just stay there and you go ahead and push through until you finally fucking get it done?
It depends on how bad my mood is in that moment, like how many tries it took me. And then if I know that like it's really not that hard and I'm just like, for whatever reason, I'm fucking up. Yeah. I'm going to keep doing it because, like, no, I know I got it. I'm gonna do it. I'm going to get it done. Like, just get it together.
Right.
However, there are times where sometimes it's just, you need to come back to it and you need to understand, like, it's just a feeling kind of like, it's a feeling you get, and that's how you know when to differentiate, like, those times. Right. Am I going to just take some time or am I going to get it done now? I just feel it off the vibe in that moment.
Yeah. You know, I was watching an interview not too long ago about I forget the name of the producer. The name kind of escapes me my mind right now, but he was mentioning that if there's any one piece of advice that they can give to a young and up and coming artist or a songwriter or whatever, it's make sure that you write and create for yourself, because once you start trying to create something for a specific audience, then you're going to blow it up and it's not going to work out, because you're going to be so innated and so focused on a specific type of group, whether it's you want it to be, you know, for your family or for your friends, and not just doing it for yourself. And then afterwards, you're focused more on pleasing them instead of doing what you need to do. And then it just goes out of whack. Would you agree with that sentiment?
1,000%, especially like being in a place at one point where I was trying to write what I felt like other people wanted, or what was cool, and it didn't feel authentic to me, and I didn't really like it, you know? And I find that my best music comes from when I'm authentic to myself, whether that mean it's something that I went through, or whether that's something I've experienced and heard other people experience firsthand, and I incorporate into it, you know?
Yeah, and
it's true.
Yeah, and another example of why you should do things for yourself. I was watching another interview, and this time I do remember the artist. It was Dylan Francis. I don't know if you're familiar with Dylan Francis. He does like EDM or electric music. All right, so he's a DJ, producer / everything. Cool. He says that one of the biggest complaints that he's ever had to do, or the biggest problems that he has to go with as far as his career, is he'll create a song. And then some fans will be like, "Oh, I miss the old Dylan Francis." But then he could create a song that is very similar to how the old Dylan Francis sounded, and they're still going to complain like, "Oh, this sounds like the old Dylan Francis. I don't know if I like that." So you can't please everybody, and they're always, you know, you're always going to be thankful for your fans and everything, but at the same time, they're always going to be your harshest critic and your worst judge. So I just feel like with that example, it's just further proof that you should just do it for yourself and remember why you got into it in the first place, as opposed to just appeasing everybody. Because I remember, I'll tell you right now, and I mentioned plenty of times on my show before how I used to do music, and I mentioned before that, you know, me and your manager or owner of New Mecca, whatever he is, we basically had the same name. I thought that was pretty funny. But when I was doing music back then, and you know, everything is hindsight 2020. I feel like one of the reasons why it didn't work out was because I was listening to too many people. Not saying that they were wrong, but I feel like I was listening to too many people at once, to the point where I lost sight of why I got into it in the first place. And then you fast forward to now with me doing the podcast. I've been staying passionate about it, and I still do it the way that I want to do it. But every now and then I have people, like even like some family members or some friends, that are trying to put in their 2 cents on how they think that I could, you know, really make it pop and blow up and so on and so forth. And one of the things that we don't see eye to eye on is that I didn't get into this endeavor for money. I got into this because this is something that I had an affinity for since 2005. And I felt like, and I actually ended up finding out that this was actually my form of therapy. And I learned that, you know, therapy doesn't always mean you have to go see somebody for professional, even though I do recommend it. It's something that I'm very passionate and prevalent about. But I also feel like therapy could be a form of finding what you love to do. In your case, it's music. That is therapeutic for you, and that's what centers you, and that's what makes you feel like you have purpose in life. So for me, with the podcast, that's what it does for me. And then you have other people that are in your ear that they're proud of what you're doing, but like they're always talking about like, "Hey, are you making money off of this?" Like I'll even tell you right now, an ex-girlfriend of mine, I feel like she was more focused on me trying to figure out how to monetize as opposed to actually being proud of what I'm doing. Right. And that was actually kind of discouraging to me. But like I said, everything's hindsight 2020. And I realized that I shouldn't let what happened before repeat itself. And don't let it discourage me, because if I still follow that same sentiment, if I still stay closed-minded as I was back then I probably would have just given up on this.
Yeah, you have to do it for yourself. You know, you can't listen to everybody. Even though sometimes it can be hard when you got a bunch of people like, you know, down your throat or trying to say something and have something to say. But literally at the end of the day, you are the one that's in the driver's seat. This is your career. This is your life. Are they doing it? Are they doing something close to it?
Yeah.
More times than not, they're not doing it.
But you know what it is? It's also kind of tricky because their intentions are good, at least. You know that your family and friends are, they're like, they may give their 2 cents and it maybe sound like bullshit or whatever, but you also have to keep in mind that they have the good intentions. Like, they actually want you to succeed. And also it kind of made me think, you know, going back to my podcast, that if I didn't stick with it and I didn't show my passion, then they probably would have, you know, started saying some other thing like, oh, this is like, I don't know what's going on and why does he keep on doing this? But seeing how I keep on doing it and I haven't stopped, then that's when they show that they're supportive and then they're proud and so on and so forth. And that goes back to action speaking louder than words.
1000%.
Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about New Mecca. So before you get a little bit more in depth about it, I just want to say that I discovered you guys about almost a year ago, maybe a little bit less than a year, sometime in the summer of 2021 or 2022. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this, but I really can't find a weak link in the group, meaning that every single person that is under the fold, I seem to really, really fucking enjoy what they're bringing to the table and what kind of genre that they're doing. I don't see one weak link, and I kind of find that impossible, but also amazing at the same time. But it's out there, and you know I've been following Izzy Nice first. That was how I got into it at first, and then I've discovered you and Sad Hippie and your boy Legs and Sandro Keys and a whole bunch of other guys, and B Merck and Jessica Perros and Cito on the beat. I can't find a weak link in any one of y'all. And so that's just my hats off to you guys for doing the thing that you're doing, the movement and so on and so forth. And what I want to know, and we were talking about how you a little bit of a perfectionist, how like you get frustrated sometimes when like you're writing or it's not coming out. What I want to know about the dynamic between y'all is like, how is the support system like? Are there moments where like, you know, you got this, don't worry, you know, just keep on going, or do you guys have your moments where you're bickering, but it's all in the name of passion and love and respect?
Both. So we're like a family, and like any family, you're gonna bicker sometimes, you know. And there's a lot of us, so sometimes it's a lot of personalities. So yeah, we bicker sometimes, but at the same time, it's very supportive and there's a lot of love there, you know. We want each other to win. That's why we built the empire that we're building. Right. We have the same goal. We know what we want, so we're all gonna help each other get there. Someone's slacking in something, lacking in another. We're going to like work on it, tighten up. You need help with this? All right, let's figure out how we're going to do it. What do you need? Like, for example, even with beats, we have 3 Ganja, Neff.
You got Ganja, Neff,
and Lex. We have at least 4 producers in Mecca. And we've set, you know, some days where we're working with a producer. We get a few beats from one of them, so on and so forth, so we could get a different flavor from each and different styles and try to come up with something, you know. So it's very supportive.
What about competition wise? Like, do you have every now and then these kind of friendly competitions, like who's going to outdo the other one as far as like the amount of content that they're creating and so on and so forth, or you know, just basically a friendly competition, like who's going to finish the song first? What's going on there?
So yeah, occasionally like we throw a little joke. So we have a group chat, and we joke a lot in that group chat, our Mecca, in this Mecca chat. And yeah, we'll say so and so, you know, could create a better record than so and so. And we have like, we know who has the biggest catalog and things like that. For example, Izzy and Ganja have the biggest catalog in Mecca. So we recognize everyone's strengths as well. Excuse me. In Mecca, little friendly competition is always good. It's fun.
I mean, I feel like that's the only way that you could push each other and not stay so stagnant and complacent. Because if everybody just agreed and, you know, followed pat with everything that they're doing, then I don't really see any real growth, you know, for lack of a better term. Now, seeing that you all, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
Yeah,
go ahead, go.
And we also, when we're talking about something, we bounce ideas off of each other too. Like we collectively think of something that's going to be for the betterment of the team, for what we're doing, whatever we're building. Like when it comes to shows or when it comes to records, oh, what do you think? Should I do this? Or we ask for each other's insights, and that helps as well. And then the way that we even operate Mecca, we actually started something new where we have a council, so to speak, where we're trying to do things a lot different 2023. And in this council, we're kind of like bouncing our final idea, or not our final ideas, we're bouncing ideas where we can bring it to the rest of the team and like, okay, look, this is what works best. This is what we're thinking. How do you guys feel? How do we want to move forward, you know?
Right.
So it's very inclusive as well. And I feel like that's the best thing about having the team that we do. We all play our part.
Okay. Now, even besides Mecca, even just in a general sense, let's just say hypothetically, you know, for a second that, you know, there is no new Mecca, but you guys are still like a group, a really tight group family and so on and so forth. When it comes to looking or evaluating other talent, what are some standards that you would say personally that you have, or even the rest of the group has what it takes to actually have the love and respect of what they're trying to do amongst y'all?
I'm sorry, I need you maybe rephrase a little bit. Do you mean like our own? Like not
just with each other, but like let's say somebody, like let's say you see somebody, whether it's a rapper or a rocker or a singer or whatever, and they just have certain qualities about them that you feel that they actually could be, you know, a part of the fold, if you know, so to speak. Like I feel like one of the reasons why you guys are so close and tight knit with each other is because you have certain standards for each other, and you hold them up to make sure that you guys keep the train moving.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I previously said, we all have the same kind of mindset and goals, and we have the same morals, so to speak. We operate with love. We operate with good energy, good vibes. When we walk into a place, you're gonna feel that from us. It's all about being inclusive and being just included and having fun and being yourself. Like that's our message that we put out. So I feel like all of us have that energy, that trait, that just good vibes, love. Like ain't no need for all that extra shit. Just be real, be yourself, and we good, you know?
Right.
So we all have those traits that I feel makes us like gravitate to each other and work really well as like aside from the artistry, like as friends, as people, you know. That's why we're pretty close as we are.
Right. Now, we touched a little bit about the trials and tribulations that you had to go through in your own personal career, but I also like to keep things on an even keel, you know, keep it balanced. What are some of the most proud accomplishments that you've done so far in your young career?
My most proud. So, I mean, Mecca is one of them, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be just one thing. Like, give me some, you know, what are some things that you, like, really make you proud in the trajectory that you've taken in your career so far?
So, I am 21 years old, and I feel, as crazy as this is about to sound, I feel like I've lived a few lifetimes in my life, in my young years on Earth, you know? So, something I'm proud of just trying to find one thing, but it's kind of like a collective, just where I am mentally. Are you asking career or like as a person as well?
You know, we can mix them both, because I feel like they can coexist with one another, because I feel like your personal passion is what drives your career as an artist.
Yeah, for sure. I would say how do I explain this? I used to always want to just be in control into things that I'm doing, or like to the T. Like we were talking about perfectionist, right, before.
Right.
And I would just like to like control the situation, but now I'm more open to just like trusting in the process. So I feel like my mental has evolved, so to speak.
Right.
That's a great accomplishment for me and how I operate, how I run things. Another artistry. I should have a better answer for these.
You know what? Don't worry about trying to like have the right answer or the better answer. Just one thing that I'm always going to appreciate and my audience is going to appreciate is the authenticity. You know, just be real with your answers and be real with yourself, and that's going to gravitate more than anything. So, you know, just keep in mind this is not the SATs or anything.
Yeah,
so,
no, for sure. I'm like, oh, I gotta have a good answer. Nah, honestly, I'm just proud of like where I'm at right now in my career for being so young. You know,
and
like
there's nothing wrong with that, because I know so many people that could be, you know, older than you, or they're not necessarily have any direction in life the way that you have, and they also got to realize that they got to give themselves some credit for some of the things that they've done in their life. You know, no matter how minuscule it may seem. You know, it's all about balance. I mean, you gotta like everybody goes through their dog days, but you also have to realize when are the days that the sunshine is actually shining on you.
For sure. You know what? I think also I'm just proud that I'm so clear in what I want to do and who I am. That's something that means a lot to me. Like I know what I want.
You take pride in that.
I take pride. Exactly. That was the word I was looking for. Okay. I take pride in
we got there.
Yeah, we got there. Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
I got you.
I take pride in how I operate, what I want, and the goals I have, because it's very clear for me what I'm meant to do. Right. And now it's about putting the steps in order and moving accordingly to make it happen. That's all very clear to me now. So I think that's, I guess, direction, and direction is something I'm proud of for where I'm at. I feel like I'm at a good place. Sometimes I often get flustered and feel like I have to rush something, or I should be in a different place by now, or feel like I have to move faster than I actually do. Yeah. And I don't often give myself enough credit. Like, what? You're 21. Right. You have records out right now. You're working with a whole team. You're building a whole conglomerate empire, right. And like, look at you. You know.
And I'm glad you realized that, especially at a young age, because I know, and like I said before, it's all about actions. I'll actually give you a great example where I had no choice but to respect a certain something. So I remember a while back, I went to a movie premiere of somebody that had just created their first project, and they were actually able to get an independent movie theater to show the showing of their film. I showed up because I knew them and I wanted to support. And if I'm being really, really honest with myself and my audience, the project was trash. I'm sorry. It was just something that was not very good. I didn't enjoy it. I can't see myself seeing it again. But in some weird, odd way, I had to respect the action, because I know so many people in the past, and even in some in the present, where they've had aspirations of doing what they wanted to do, and they don't even know how to get their foot in the door. They haven't even looked at a piece of equipment that they could probably use for a project, or they haven't exactly necessarily put that pen to paper to get the idea started. Even just a minuscule thing. And even though the final product wasn't exactly what I liked, you got to respect the process and the action that they took upon to do it themselves. Yeah, they did it, So, and that's something that cannot be taken away from them.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, because they may not have, this is going to sound bad, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but if they didn't have the brains for it, at least they showed the balls.
No, facts. Facts. It takes balls to pursue something that you're confident in, even if you may get mixed reactions from other people, like, this is what I like, this is what I'm gonna do, like, fuck your opinion, I like it, and this is it, that's it.
For anybody that's aspiring to be an artist, whether they're your age or younger, or even maybe a little bit older, and they have a sense of discouragement because things are not exactly going their way, and you've been going through the trials and tribulations and also the successes of your young career so far, what can you tell to some people out there that may be watching this or listening to this that are feeling a sense of discouragement, and how they can get out of that rut?
Everything happens in its time when it's meant to happen. And you just need to trust the process. As like played out as that seems or sounds, it's just very true. You don't always have the answers. And I used to be an answer person. Like, I need to know the answers. I need to know why. Like, why does this happen? Why did this? I had all these questions, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't always get the answer when you want. Yeah. You get it when you need it. And one day it'll make sense. And sometimes you don't get the answers. But you just have to trust in the process, because what's meant for you will be for you, and you'll get it. Yeah. As long as you put in the work, and you don't lose sight of yourself in it. Right. You don't try to conform yourself. Don't conform yourself, because there's nothing better than being your authentic self.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said that, because it rings true. And I don't know if you knew this about me, but one of the things that I'm a very big advocate for is, the well-being of mental health, specifically men's mental health. Yeah. And so one of the things that I preach a lot is, it may sound cliche, but you always have to keep on telling people what they need to hear, and keep their encouragement up, and so on and so forth. And you have to keep at it, because I think one of the biggest misconceptions in this world of instant gratification that we live in is like perfect example. Somebody may want to go is dealing with mental problems, that like they're going through their own depression and so on and so forth, and they feel like they need to go seek professional help, speak to somebody that's a professional. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, they go in with the mindset thinking that they're going to see this person as many times as they can, and then afterwards, eventually, they're going to be cured of whatever they're going through. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. I know there's people out there. I even know one specific person that they're going through their own thing, and they're actually still living a really good life. They're actually happy with their kids and their wife and so on and so forth, but they still have their moments where it has to be in check. So this person has been going to therapy for 17, 18 years, and that shows right there that this is something that you have to keep on putting in check and making sure that you're staying on top of it, instead of thinking that one day it's all going to be over and you're going to be cured of it, and so on and so forth. And that's where it's almost kind of like I hate to use this analogy, but it's almost kind of like rehab, because somebody could be going through addiction or whatever, and then afterwards they been doing really good, and they think they feel powerful enough to handle anything, and then they relapse. Mm-hmm. I feel like the same analogy can go for somebody anybody. It doesn't matter, men, women, whatever the case may be. That it's important to take care of their own well-being mentally.
1,000%. Healing is never linear.
Yes.
It's not linear at all. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. You have to take care of your mental, because that's... You're like a sponge. You absorb everything that's in your daily, what you're around, who you're with, what you see, what you eat, what you watch. Everything plays a part into your well-being. So yeah, that's definitely a big one for me as well. Mental health.
How has it affected you, if you don't mind me asking, and in your own personal?
So I struggle with anxiety.
Okay.
Anxiety sometimes, and when I was younger, even now, honestly, depression occasionally. I guess it would be considered seasonal depression, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But it can take a toll, because I'm an overthinker. So yeah. I will start overthinking about overthinking, and although I'm aware of facts.
Yeah, isn't that a sad state of affairs when we reach a point in society where we're overthinking about overthinking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming.
Yes.
Very overwhelming. Sometimes when my mind is just going, I can get myself sad. Let's call it sad. What I try to remember, what I try to do is meditate. Mm-hmm. Meditate.
That's actually become a big thing. I'm not too familiar with it. I told myself that I want to know more about it and possibly try to do it, but I just haven't got to that point yet. But I do know that that's become a big thing as of recent.
Yeah, it helps me, because everything is frequencies and vibrations. So specifically when I'm meditating, I look on YouTube, depending on how I'm feeling, like what am I trying to tackle right now? What is bothering me? Am I overthinking? Am I anxious? Is it about money? Is it about family? Is it about anything? And honestly, if you search up something like that, and then you put hertz, like HZ on YouTube, you can find different frequencies, and they're labeled different different titles on things that
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
focuses on. So depending on how I'm feeling, I'll pick the one according to how I'm feeling, you know?
Yeah.
That writing helps release, because I used to just want to keep everything inside, but that doesn't do anything.
Right.
You know, I'm the type that like, I give and give and give and give and give, but if you give too much, you don't have anything left for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I've been, in order to release, I've just been mindful of my habits and changing the tune, because if you tell yourself something, so often you're going to believe it, you know, in your mind. So you have to be mindful of how you're speaking to yourself, and be kind to yourself, and give yourself credit and be grateful for life and for all the little things. Like sometimes too, when things get overwhelming or I find myself just flustered, I'll go outside and I'll just pay attention to everything. I'll look at the architecture in the building. I'll look at the way the wind is moving the leaves, and I find that helps. Nature helps too.
Nice. You know, I've mentioned before on the show that one of the things that I really enjoy in the society that we're dealing that we're in right now is more now more than ever. It seems that people are actually paying attention and being more mindful of, you know, the way that people are going about life and how they're going through their own struggles and their own mental health issues and so on and so forth. And, you know, as opposed to how it was years ago where it was looked at as a sign of weakness. But unfortunately, we still have those cynics out there. We still have those people that try to think in their own mindset that, you know, depression is not a real thing. You know, people should stop complaining about, you know, or stop making excuses that, you know, mental health is the only reason why things are so fucked up and so on and so forth. But in some weird way, I kind of feel like with that same kind of toxicity, is that just their own defense mechanism with the, you know, because they refuse to believe that they're just like us, or people that are going through it and they just don't want to believe it? They're trying to be cynic about it and pessimistic about it?
I think so, because a lot of people don't like to look at themselves in the mirror or really look at themselves. You know, it's hard. Right.
Because there's a very famous figure who name I won't mention because I don't want to put, you know, I don't want to give any, you know, shine to their name or anything, but there is a very famous figure out there in the world, especially on the internet, that has tried to preach that depression is not real, mental health issues are not real. People are just blowing it up at the way it be because it's now a new facade and a new fad that everybody wants to get into because it feels like they're part of a community, so to speak. But when I look at that person, I just look at somebody that's weak and is not really in tune with their own feelings and is actually afraid to actually be honest and open with themselves because they're going to think that they're a pussy, and it's all because of their own toxicity. And they feel like if they spread their toxic message to others, then they're going to get more traction. They're going to get more traction. They're going to get more likes. And so on and so forth. And unfortunately, there are people that are falling for it. And it makes me sad in a way because I'm also thinking about the person that hears something like that. And then all the things that they've done to really better themselves and you know, be more in a positive mindset and so on and so forth. They're going to feel like, oh, you know what? Maybe I don't matter after all. It's almost like a new form of bullying. In some way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some that aren't as mentally strong yet, they may fall victim to that. Right. You know, and that does make me sad too, because we shouldn't be what is the word? Putting down others for things that somebody may not know about. You know, you don't know my struggle. You don't know my traumas. You don't know what's going on with me. Who are you to say that this isn't real and how I'm feeling isn't real just because you don't believe? Like, no.
Or they're just really trying to be that person, just trying to be a pessimist because they know their name is going to get traction. Right.
Well, we don't pay attention to those that are just doing it.
Well, we shouldn't. Well, I know that we don't, but unfortunately, there are people out there that are taking notice of it and want to follow that same sentiment. Unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's a shame because ultimately that's just going to come back at them tenfold, you know? Everything that they have pent up that they didn't address is going to come back to them or affect them in different aspects of their life. You know, if you don't deal with your issues, best believe they're just going to keep growing.
It's going to come back to bite them in the ass.
Exactly. So, all right, you don't believe it now?
Yeah. And I could say that, because I was one of those people. I was years ago. I tell people all the time now that if you met me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you thought I was the biggest asshole. You wanted to stay 10, 20 feet away from me because I was just this negative, pessimistic person that was so close-minded and thought that the world needed to revolve around me. And I'm glad I got out of that mindset, and I realized that part of it was because of the company that I was keeping around. Even though family, sometimes family could be the biggest cause of your of your non-well-being.
Absolutely, but that's at some point you come to the realization family isn't always blood.
I was just gonna say that too. That's something that I've mentioned before on my show plenty of times, and I'm glad that we share the same sentiment.
Yeah, family just makes you related. That's personally what I believe, because I have a lot of family that's not blood. Right.
Have you ever been in a situation, and this has actually happened to me, where I've actually veered away from certain blood family members because they're just not well for my mental being and my own positive energy and my own foundation of being a better person, so to speak.
Absolutely. Family is one of the most difficult things in life, right. Or can be. And I've had experiences with that with family where I have to separate myself because things don't align. Yeah. My purpose, my vision doesn't align with this, or actions, or I don't operate this way or want that around me because energy is real.
And doesn't it make it even a little bit tougher for people like you and me because we're Hispanics? We're supposed to be extremely more tight-knit than others out there? Yeah,
for sure. It can be hard. It could be difficult managing. I mean, I'm going to be really real. So
always be real.
Always am. My song Beautiful Lies was actually inspired by just a few years ago, just situations with family. I just felt like, there was a lot of beautiful things said to me that weren't measuring up. Some shit went down, and it's just like, damn, instead of like actually having my back, or instead of actually like being there, where was that energy that I got you? Where was that energy that like, yeah, I love you with this and that? No, it just turned into something else, and it's just that derived from a family-based situation.
Yeah, and I appreciate the honesty and you actually sharing that with me and also my audience, because that's going to reciprocate with a lot of people. Trust me, it's already reciprocating with me. I appreciate the energy and I respect the honesty.
No, of course.
Yeah. So
that one was a raw record.
Right. So what other projects do you have coming up for as far as like not matter of fact, not just music, but do you have any other goals or dreams that you have that go even beyond music but are still kind of like in the art realm? Because you did mention before, like, you like performing, you like the acting and so on and so forth. Is that something that you could see yourself going down the road later on in life?
Yes. So I actually do want to venture back into acting, because I haven't done something like acting wise since high school. Really. I did a short film in high school. And aside from like musical theater performances that I did, where we're doing both.
By the way, I gotta ask you, how was it performing at Hammerstein Ballroom? Because I remember I saw Nas perform there one time, and I'm thinking if Nas was up there, then anybody who performs on that stage has got to be a big deal.
So it was really, really cool. When I look out into the audience, you see first of all, it's a big auditorium, and there's rows and rows of seats. So it goes up like 3 columns, I think, maybe a little bit more. But
I know what you're talking about, because like I said, I've been there before. So yeah,
so you see it's deep, and then they had the first layer was just a bunch of tables, like people at tables sitting down, like dinner vibe almost, and then the light. I love lights, camera, action. Like that's I get adrenaline when I'm on stage. There's no other like feeling or way to describe it other than just like greatness. Greatness just coursing through my veins.
You're completely in your element when that happens.
Yeah, it's just fun. Like I'm kind of like going off subject a little bit.
No, it's fine. Keep going.
But I always get a little bit nervous right before performing. Oh. Right? Okay. Like I don't know, jitters or whatever.
It happens to the best of us. I mean, listen, every time not to cut you off, but every time I do this podcast, right before we press record and before we go, I have to get these little bitty jitters that I still have in me, no matter how many times I've done this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just how it goes for me, I guess, or for us.
I think it's just another form of adrenaline, and we just want to make sure, and we
like excitement,
right? And we're so passionate about what we do that we want to make sure that we knock it out the park.
Mm-hmm. I remember like before. I had to do, it was like a scene or something. Or no, I'm lying. It was lyrics. I had to sing a song. Okay. And I completely forgot my lyrics. Like, I wasn't on stage yet, but I completely forgot. I'm going over the song, and I'm just like, what the hell? I've rehearsed this so many times. I don't remember the words. Like, and then once exactly. But then once I hit that stage, it's just like, I close my eyes, I breathe, and then when I open it again, it's just, it's a different feeling. So when... Going back to the Hammerstein Ballroom, that was a big space. That was a big stage. It's official. You have real live instruments. You have a bunch of people watching. It was dope. It was really dope. It was a dope experience.
Would you compare that experience to when you're out there on stage and you're so in your element and you're so focused and immersed in what you're trying to do out there? And then when it's all said and done and you step off stage, do you kind of have that moment where you're like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Like, I don't even know what happened. I was just so into my element, like, I can't have any recollection of it. Yeah,
sometimes I'm like, oh, shit, I just did that. Or, like, I be so in it sometimes that I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know what happened sometimes.
Yeah, like, maybe you see a repeat of it, like, on a video of what you were doing, and like, holy shit, I barely remember any of this because I was so into it.
That happens to me sometimes, and then other times I'm just so excited, and that feeling stays with me.
But isn't that a great feeling? How we could just lose ourselves into what we're doing.
Absolutely, it's like the experience is here and the words are down here.
Right.
There's no matching it.
And especially in the world that we live in today, I feel like those moments are so far few in between that we gotta cherish them as much as we can, more than ever.
It's one of my favorite feelings ever. Just doing what I love, and then not only doing what I love, but watching other people watch me do what I do, because I see how they feel and how they're reacting to it, and they're so into it, or if the lyrics just hit at a different point for them, you can tell, like, that's my favorite part, actually.
Right.
Well, yeah, one of my favorite parts, just like watching how other people feel with my performance, record, so on and so forth. That's dope. I love seeing that.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you this question also. You being a fan of music just overall in general, would you even say that you're even a fan of music like that was made way before you were even born, or were you even a thought of?
Yeah, for sure. So when I say I love music, period, I've even listened to some 50s, 60s music before and enjoy it.
Right.
Nat King Cole, like Frank Sinatra. Love.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I bring that up is because you take artists that were from the 50s, the 60s, or even 70s and 80s. And back then, no matter how big or small the artist was, there was at least that time where they could only focus on the music and the music itself, and they were able to find a way to make it timeless without even trying. And then we live in this world now, and you'll understand this because you're a youngin', is that when it comes to doing all of that now, it's much more than what they do, because people in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they didn't have like internet, they didn't have social media, they didn't feel like they needed to post their life about everything that they were doing, and it was not all about instant gratification. And I feel like in some ways it's actually made it harder for an artist to want to be an artist, because I remember back when I was doing music, like MySpace was just a thing. It just started. Yeah, it had just started. So I was still under the mindset that like I needed to do this music and get my name out there in the streets and the record labels, so on and so forth, not realizing that I had to have a following on fucking MySpace and then Facebook and then all these other social media platforms. So now you're kind of you kind of were born into it. You were kind of grown into it. But I even feel like, even though you saw it from the inception of your career and so on and so forth, that still doesn't make it any easier, because and I mean, doesn't it get uncomfortable for you sometimes where like you just want to focus on just doing your craft and focus on what you love doing, as opposed to just showing everybody every little thing that you're doing in your everyday life?
Yeah, 1,000%. So like I'm gonna split that into like two parts, right?
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's easier than they had it before in the sense of access to putting out music and
Absolutely,
reaching people. Like now you don't need a label.
Mm-hmm.
You have distribution services that you can independently put out your music.
Of course, yeah.
And so easy, you have access, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then social media helps, so on and so forth. But it's harder because you have to maintain a social media presence,
Right.
and captivate your audience. And yes, it does get tiring because I don't want to post all the time. I don't want to have to develop content all the time. Sometimes I genuinely don't feel like it.
Yeah. And it's also like the whole outlook of music and putting it out there has changed even. And I'll give you an example. So back in my days when, CDs were still a thing and cassettes were still a thing, it was always about the anticipation. Like people knew when this album was coming out and they were looking forward to it. And some of these albums that came out, they were like 15 tracks or 22 tracks or so on and so forth. Now we live in a world of instant gratification where an artist may put out like 4 or 5 projects in the same year, but each project is only like maybe 4 or 5 songs or 8 songs at the max. And it's not even called really an EP. It's just called a project or an album, but it's just more sample size more than everything because we live in a world now of instant gratification. Like, okay, I can only put out this much work into it right now and I'll come back to it with some more later on in the year. And for some reason, I feel like that lack of anticipation of a project coming out kind of takes the steam of, the excitement and wanting to actually be immersed in the music, so to speak. Because I go back to the times where like I knew Jay-Z's album was coming out on this specific date and I couldn't wait for it, as opposed to somebody that I can't think of any name right now, but they'll have a mixtape, an EP, and an album, but it's all like sample size compared to an actual full-length project.
Right. I feel like because sometimes the soul isn't there as it used to be. That's one.
Right.
And then two, everybody's in competition with everybody and feels like I just need to pump out a bunch of stuff that I don't really care about because people are gonna bite at it and they just want to eat. They just want this. They just want that. Oh, this is the new sound. Oh, I got to do that too. Like everybody tries to conform or just be relevant. That sometimes, not every artist, but some of the artists that just pump out things, I feel like it's not their best work, or they didn't really. You know that they just did it to like get it over with, as opposed to
it's
taking my time and really listening to everything and putting together a cohesive album, EP, project, whatever.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It's kind of a weird analogy, but it kind of reminds me of, I need to turn in this book report because the teacher said it's due on this date.
No, exactly. That's funny, but that's exactly what it's like. They're just doing it to get it done. Exactly.
Yeah. And I feel like some of their focus is off because instead of just wanting to put the album out or their projects out, they also have to worry about sponsors. They have to worry about their social media game, their marketing campaign. You got to go up against, Tim Cook or whoever, or, Amazon nowadays. You got to go against their marketing campaigns.
Yeah, and that's very important. Like marketing is something like I'm now learning about to apply to myself tenfold, like just like go crazy with. But I feel like you need to have the same passion and mindfulness as people do for their marketing in their like music, in their actual artistry. Like don't lose sight of that. Damn, I had a thought when you were talking and it just escaped me. Shoot. Oh, I hate when this happens. Don't you hate it when you have something to say and it's on the tip of your tongue and then as soon as you're about to say it,
as I get older, it's getting worse.
Oh man, and this is happening to me now.
Well, luckily this is pre-recorded.
Oh yeah, right. That's true. Damn, no, I really forgot it, and it was gonna be so good. Artistry. I'm so mad. I don't know. I lost it.
Okay. Well, if it does come back to you, please feel free to interrupt me.
So annoying.
Hey, listen, this goes back to what I was saying earlier.
I got it.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so a lot of people put too much attention into their marketing and too much into other things, right? That do matter and they are important.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they lost sight of how to put an actual project together.
Yes.
And the motions of like how each song goes into another.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, oh, yeah, this song, yep, sounds good, great, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But they forgot about that intro, what emotion you're getting at, what are you talking about, where does it lead to next, and then the wrap up at the end, like where are you at now, or what are you trying to even say, you know, as opposed to a lot of people just say a lot of nonsense on a lot of records and put out the project, as opposed to this whole story and this whole piece of work. I feel like that happens a lot now.
You know what's actually funny is that when I first started this podcast, I was always constantly reaching out to people to see if they wanted to be on my show, because I was an unknown. Nobody knew who I was. I didn't have anything off the ground. I was just doing audio only. I wasn't doing video yet. Okay. And then over time, as I kept on going at it and kept putting my name out there, it's now gone up to the point where people are actually reaching out to me this time, and it's actually made my life a little bit easier. However, it's also kind of made it harder, because now it's bringing a bunch of people that I feel like an obligation that I can't put them on. Like, perfect example, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a compliment here, but it's also going to further prove my point. Okay. The name of the show is First Class, Second Place. Mm-hmm. First Class is the real important part. If I feel like I bring you on your show, on my show, it's because I believe in what you're doing and I want you to succeed as much as you can. I don't bring any bullshit artist or any bullshit person on here for the hell of it. If you're on here, it's for a reason, and that goes to show how I feel about what you do and what you bring to the table and how you go about your artistry and craft and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, so that was a compliment to you.
Thank you.
The point that I'm getting at is that now I have a lot of, specifically artists. I specifically have a bunch of artists coming up to me or hitting me up on my socials, and they say that, oh, I would like to be featured on your show. How would I go about it? I don't answer right away, because I feel like I need to give them a chance and listen to their stuff. And not only am I not a fan of some of these, some of the people's music that they put out there, but another frustrating thing, which I think is even worse, is like they're all the same. I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I feel like the last couple of artists that have reached out to me to see if they can come on my show, it's just nothing but drill music. It's just drill rap. And each person literally and legitimately sounds like a new version of Pop Smoke. So where's the originality? You're basically catering to a certain audience, what we were talking about before. You're not doing it for yourself. You're only when you're doing something like that, you're only trying to appease what other people and how they want it and how they feel like you should do it, or you're in it for the wrong reasons. You're only doing it for monetary reasons. Because I can even tell you right now, there's a lot of podcasts out there right now. It's flooded. It's oversaturated. And I legitimately, and not to sound cocky or anything, but I legitimately feel that there's a lot of podcasts out there that are not in my league, and they can do what I do and how I do it. And the reason behind it also is because I feel like a lot of people have now got into it for monetary reasons. Like, they see somebody like Joe Rogan and he signed $100 million deal with Spotify, and they're like, oh, maybe I could do the same thing as well. Right. It's almost like how a lot of rappers back in the day, they only started to rap because they thought that this is a way how to, make their millions and make their career and so on and so forth. For me, it was more because I had an affinity for radio back in 2005. I actually wanted to get into media a long time ago, and now I've reignited my passion. I reignited the fire that was out in me for a long time, and I found it in podcasting, and that's why I feel like I'm still continuing with it. I'm still going at it. I'm still passionate about it. I'm still fiery about it, and I feel like I will wax the floor with any other podcasters out there, because I'm not doing it for the reasons that they're doing it for.
Right, you're doing it because it's your passion. You're authentic to it.
It took me 36 years to figure out my purpose in life, and so be it. This is it, and that's why I will fight tooth and nail for anybody else that think they can go toe to toe with me with podcasting.
No, talk your shit, because it's facts. When you know what you're about and you know what you bring to the table and how you're gonna operate, stand on that shit. Right. Because it's true. A lot of people a lot of podcasts can be or have been just drama, or they want to be trendy and then talk about like bullshit. Nothing that really matters. And
this goes back to people constantly trying to put input, because do you realize how many times I've had people, I'll reiterate this again, there's been people out there, even family members, that they're trying to put in their own 2 cents on how I can make my shit pop off even more. I'm like, well, first of all, I didn't ask for your opinion, and two, your idea sucks, and three, I'm not doing it for the reasons that you think that I'm doing it for.
Right, and that's also what I meant when like exactly what you said is kind of the side that I was coming from. You know, like I get like some people do have pretty good intentions.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
You know, but also it's like, all right, you think it's either that easy or like that it just magically happens, and no, I could just do that, and this is just how it works. No, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
You know, so I'm with you. I'm 1,000% with you. Like, and if I didn't ask to, like, don't give it to me. I didn't ask you for it, especially if you have no idea of, you're not even in this field at all. So, like, I feel that way for a lot of things. Like, not a lot of things, but for some things, I feel that way. Like, if you're not in this at all, if you don't know jack shit about it, like, where do you get off trying to tell me how I should do what I'm doing? You know?
Well, because they're looking at everybody else and how they do it, and they want you to follow suit.
Right, and right.
But
and I'm not like anybody.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're right.
That they're what?
That they're right. It doesn't mean that they're right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, their good intentions are there, but you know, lay off.
But lay off, you know. I'm doing what I gotta do. Let me be.
Yeah, fuck out of here, you know. So speaking my Jersey Italian accent.
Fuck out of here.
You just reminded me of My Cousin Vinny, one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh, my mom told me I should watch that.
Oh my God, you have to.
I haven't watched it yet, but it is on the list. We like passed it when we were, I don't know, we were watching something, and it was like on the coming attraction. Like, oh, next is My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah. You like comedies?
I do.
You'll love it. Trust me.
So this is just a confirmation for me then.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now I want to go back to the question that I didn't get to around before. So what are the projects you got coming up next that the people are, can check out?
So I actually have my first project ever, like ever in my music career. It's an EP. It's called Jaded, and I'm very excited for that because I've been working on it for about 2 years now. Right. I thought it was done a year ago, not everybody, but for Izzy specifically, Izzy told me, even when you think you're done, you're not done. Yeah. And I was like, but I think I'm done.
No, you're not.
I think I'm done. I have these songs and it sounds good, and I wasn't done. There was another year after that I thought it, So I'm very excited for Jaded. Jaded is, oh man, how do I explain Jaded? So each record is going to take you through a different emotion or mindset that you will be going through or have gone through when you're dealing with a relationship that turns out to not be what you thought it was. And when things change, you have that self-doubt, you have that confusion, you have the anger, you have the sadness. So every record kind of transitions you into that point where, oh shit, like something's wrong, this isn't working out, to at the end you get to a place of, I know I did what I could, who I am, and what I won't settle for again, And I feel like everyone can relate to that at some point in their life. So I'm excited for this. It's going to be top of the year 2023. Right. So that's really new. I'm very excited for that. Let Me Down was the single I released from that project. So that's going to be great. I'm planning on doing videos. Nice. Music videos. I don't have a music video out yet, so visuals are coming.
But you do have a lot of covers on YouTube. I definitely go ahead and check it out. I mean, I caught a couple of them, you with the blonde hair and everything.
Yeah, my blonde hair. I actually, I used to, on Instagram, put those covers up. I used to have a lot. I kind of took some, or archived some, just for like rebranding purposes and just making it look better. Yeah. But
what I liked about those covers, though, is that you really show that you pull your heart and soul, even though they weren't exactly written by you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I relate to things, and I like putting the emotion into anything I'm doing, whether it's written by me or not. Like even when I'm writing, I've always been told that I have such great voice in my writing, like by my teachers all my life. Yeah. So I feel like
one of them include Miss Louie?
What?
Your third grade teacher?
What? How did you? This is that curveball you're talking about.
I mean, you didn't exactly make it on American Idol, but you did go on stage.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Did I ever say this?
I did tell you I do my research.
You did do your research. Yeah. Wow. Whoa. Yeah, so I don't even know what I was saying. You said Miss Louie, and I was just like.
Well,
what?
You were saying that all the teachers.
Voice.
Yes.
Am I writing? Yeah, that includes Miss Louie. So my emotion definitely does show in when I perform and in things I write I feel like in my music as well.
Right.
I like writing real music. Not to say I don't like to have fun in some of my music songs and just put it out there, but I find that, like I said earlier, the more meaningful, authentic ones come from like a real place. Those are my best records, I think.
Right. That's good. And I can see it, even you just saying that right now actually solidifies how much you really enjoy doing what you do.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and that's great. And kudos to you and respect to you for actually finding and love and going for your passion and not giving up on that motherfucker.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I had a great conversation with you. I'm really glad that you came here. I'm really appreciative that you made the trip all the way out here for my little old show, and I really like what you're doing and so on and so forth. I think that you and the New Mecca has got something that's really going on. I'm really proud to know y'all. I'm really proud to listen to everything that you're doing, and just keep it up. Don't stop.
Won't ever stop. Can't stop. No, stop.
All right. Now, before we go, I just have one more question that I want to ask you. And it's a question that I ask everybody on my show at the very last second. Just to end things on a positive note. Have a little fun with it. There's no right or wrong answer. And this is actually going to be interesting for you because you told me how much you're into like the arts and acting and so on and so forth. So let's live in a world where you did everything that you wanted to accomplish and you're calling it a day. You're calling it a career. The next step is them making a movie on your life.
Oh my gosh.
Which actress do you see playing your character and why? And just to make it easier for you, there's no right or wrong answer, and they don't have to look like you, they don't have to sound like you. It's just somebody that you admire and you feel like they could portray your character to the best of their ability.
Who I actually, maybe I don't know, I feel like this is a cop-out answer now. But an actress that I'm really enjoying is she's young. She's the girl that did Wednesday, Jenna Ortega.
Okay, all right. Nobody said that on my show yet, so.
Well, she's fairly new technically to like.
I know, but you still got that, and I've actually caught a couple of her projects recently. Like I didn't catch the Wednesday yet, but I did see the new Scream movie and then something else that she was in. I forget. But yeah, I know exactly who she is. And why do you think that she could portray your character best? Because
I can tell that she's very dedicated into the roles that she's doing. For example, like I did some like research on her when Wednesday came out, right? And she actually sat and learned how to do the cello, like herself,
okay.
and she goes in like intense playing the cello.
She goes into it, yeah.
Yeah, so she's dedicated to what she does, and she does her own stunts, and like I am very active and like I don't know.
Okay,
I feel like
I mean, who knows? Maybe it might be reversed. Maybe you might have to play her in a movie one day.
Maybe. I don't even know.
We'll see.
Damn, I feel like I should have probably chosen somebody old school too, but
no, but you know what? Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. That's actually a good one. It's actually a very popular name right now.
Yeah.
So I don't see anything wrong with it.
Nah, she's great. I'd be proud to have her play me. I'd be honored.
Put it out there in existence.
Yeah,
put
maybe.
It out there. Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of First Class, Second Place. I want to thank my very special guest, Demi, for coming through here. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Is there anybody else you want to give a shout out to before we close out?
Yes, I'm going to shout out my team, the New Mecca. I love you guys. Shout out Izzy, baby. I love you. He's done a lot for me, helping me with my craft, hone my craft, and you already know. So
love it. And just want to shout out Izzy Ness again, former alumni of First Class, Second Place. And I just also want to say that my condolences and rest in peace to your father, and my condolences to your family and everybody. And we love you and stay strong, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, where can they find you on social media?
So you guys can find me on all streaming platforms, or so everywhere actually, under Demi Kiara. That's DemiKiara. You can Google me. You can find me everywhere. All my links are there. And stay tuned because I have a lot of things coming in 2023. It's going to be a crazy, awesome year.
All right. We're looking forward to it. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at JasonEnrique _ on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And also don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. And don't forget to follow the First Class Second Place podcast page on Instagram as well. This has been the First Class Second Place podcast. We out.